It really seems like the term Democrat leadership has become an oxymoron in today's modern age. All of these leftist cities, all of these blue states, they elect the same leadership over and over and over again, and the results never change. The states get worse, the violence increases, prices and taxes go up, and the citizens, of course, are left unsatisfied. So what do? They turn around and elect the same people that caused the problem in the first place. But hopefully, we're going to start to see a turning point soon, because the mistakes the Democrats are making in their leadership roles have been so massive that they basically can't be ignored anymore. So what we're going to see today, of course, is Stephen A. Smith come to the realization that yes, Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass have to go. But before we get to these clips, please like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
Fiscal year 2023, this is the state of California, collected a total of $220.59 billion US dollars in tax revenue, the highest of any state. You got 19 different states in America who've shelled out in excess of $1 billion for the migrant crisis. California led the country with expenses of nearly $31 billion to take care of illegal immigrants and their children, according to the FAIR study. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the $159 million allocated to the state of California by FEMA. I'm looking at the $4 billion a year in funding California recently received to extend taxpayer-funded health care to an additional 700,000 undocumented immigrants. Then I'm thinking about Donald Trump coming into office as the president-elect, and the things he remembers that Gavin Newsom said about him, the things he pointed out about the state that Gavin Newsom wouldn't listen to, and as a result, he's in this kind of quandary, this quagmire. And somehow, some way, all of this is true when you've collected over nearly $221 billion in tax revenue, the highest of any state in this country. Kev, yes. I don't even know what to say anymore about these elected officials in California. So now you realize you have Democrats who helped put them in office screaming about their level of incompetence and neglect and clamoring for Donald Trump to be back in office. You realize that, right?
Nothing will make me happier than Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass pulling it together and taking care of these people and righting the ship in Los Angeles and in the state of California.
I hope you're right.
But if not, then they got to go.
They got to go. You know what? They got to go. I don't give a damn if they do. After what I've seen last week, they got to go. I'm done. I'm done, Kevin. I'm done.
Steve, sometimes there are natural disasters you can't do a damn thing about. When a hurricane hits your house down in Florida, what can you do? Are you yelling at the politicians to stand out there and stop the winds?
Kev, I'm not going off about the fires. The fires is not their fault. But when firefighters are standing there and saying there's not enough water in the fire hydrants.
That's true.
When Donald Trump asked for water to be pumped from Canada into the LA system, and Gavin Newsom opposed that. When you're hearing about environmentalists compelling him to protect smelt and little fish and salmon at the expense of LA citizens, of California citizens, Kevin, I don't need much else than that. I just don't.
So when a leftist like Stephen A. Smith has had enough, he's done, these people need to get out, then you know the Democrats are in trouble. This state, California, the richest state in the union, collecting the most dollars in tax revenue. And what are they spending it on? Illegal immigrants and healthcare for illegal immigrants. And of course, fighting the homeless crisis that they have. They're not worried about bringing in water so their citizens don't have to live in drought conditions. They're not worried about filling up the reservoirs so they actually have water to fight fires. They're not worried about having enough firemen on the ground to fight those fires, right? They don't care about any of that. All they care about is their virtue signaling. All they care about is their DEI hiring practices, right? And of course, your average everyday citizens are left out in the cold. However, this time they may have shot themselves in the foot because this area contributes huge amounts of money to the Democrat Party. And hopefully they'll say, hey, we've had enough as well. Let's get some different leadership in here. And hopefully that means not just another Democrat, but rather another Republican. Let's have this area become the next Orange County. Let's have this area become the next Temecula. These Republican strongholds that, of course, hopefully will vote that way for generations to come. However, another problem that's brought up there, of course, is the housing crisis that is being faced in California because they have huge amounts of regulation. But Gavin Newsom, now he vows to cut his state's infamous bureaucratic red tape to help fire victims rebuild quickly. All right. So if you have all this red tape and you can easily get rid of it to help them rebuild houses, why in the world is it necessary at all? Why are you trying to keep the American dream of owning a home in your state away from people who don't have astronomical incomes? All right. So this is just another example of government overreach from the Democrat Party, right? The bureaucracy is what they live for. The collection of money is what they live for. This is what they want. This is the type of society they want to live in, where they have complete control over you, your lives, and your livelihood. And of course, this is also being recognized in New York City.
Let's talk about congestion pricing now, and it's split a lot of New Yorkers, and I understand. I mean, it is really hard on commuters, and it's very difficult for a lot of people getting in and out of New York City that just can't afford this new tax. I do wonder, though, as you drive around New York and you look at it, seems like everything was built during the Depression, right? You know, it seems like so much of the infrastructure there is 70, 80, 90, 100 years old and needs updating, needs renovating. If not congestion pricing, then what do New Yorkers do? What do we all do to keep that infrastructure up to date?
Well, first, New York got $100 billion from the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And the state, frankly, has done a horrible job of releasing those funds for infrastructure improvements, not just in New York City, but across the state. Secondarily, the MTA, which is the worst run authority in America, and as I fundamentally believe needs an enema, the fact is the MTA loses $700 million a year from people who refuse to pay to ride the subway. They jump the turnstile. They refuse to pay. And in fact, you just saw a video of two men jumping the turnstile moments before a man was pushed right in front of an oncoming subway car. Fortunately, he survived. But the fact is, it encapsulates exactly what the problem is in New York and in the subway system. Crime is up on the subways. Murders are up over 60% on the subways. We saw a woman be burned alive. People do not feel safe to ride the subway system, which is part of the reason why revenue is down for the MTA. But let's be clear, this is a scam. Congestion pricing. It has nothing to do with reducing congestion. It has nothing to do with the environment. It has everything to do with the MTA raising $1 billion in revenue so that it can borrow $15 billion more. This is a authority that is already tens of billions of dollars in debt and has individual borrowing authority. It needs to be completely overhauled. I absolutely agree there needs to be infrastructure upgrades, but this is a scam. The fact is, Governor Hochul is charging the average New Yorker $2,500 more to drive into the city to go to work on an annual basis. And meanwhile, she's spending billions of dollars in taxpayer money on free housing, clothing, food, education, and healthcare for illegal immigrants. So if we want to talk about priorities, if we want to talk about investing in New York's outdated and antiquated infrastructure, we have to look at how New York is spending its money to begin with. They've increased state spending from $178 billion just 4 years ago to $239 billion, and now they need another $1 billion from hardworking commuters.
So New York State, another leftist bastion that has horrible management and horrible money issues. Despite the fact they collect billions of dollars in taxes and are given billions of dollars for infrastructure, that still apparently isn't enough. And now they're going to tax your average everyday working person, this horrible fee, this congestion tax, just to get into the city, because guess what? You can't afford to live there. So now they're going to hit you up anyway if you have to come in during those prime hours of business. But don't worry, there's billions of dollars to spend on illegal immigrants. They'll be given everything they possibly could need at your expense. But of course, this all makes perfect sense to the left because they never realize that the bill comes due and eventually it's going to cause some problems. All right. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.